Hi everybody and welcome to Showdown in Joker Town. Space Cowboys versus Gangsters of Love. Joker Town is a small dusty outpost somewhere in time and space, mostly peaceful but also infamously known for the establishment Zed's Bar. Right now, all residents have left the town because it's about to become the center of a brutal showdown between two rivaling groups. They both want to control Joker Town on their own. The Space Cowboys, led by Marshal Maurice, will approach from the east side of town. They have all deployed within one stick of the battlefield edge. On the opposite side, from the west, gang leader Geena and her Gangsters of Love will approach, and they have also deployed within one stick of the battlefield edge. And the scenario is very simple. Kill them all, or at least try to kill as many as possible within 4 or 5 rounds. Marshal Maurice is the leader of the Space Cowboys. He has good all-round stats. He is armed with a heavy rifle and a melee weapon, and he's equipped with a targeting reticule and a medikit. With him, he has his fiancée Sally Durant. She's fast, has good firepower and willpower. She's armed with an auto pistol, unarmed in melee, but she has a stealth suit. Next up, with very high firepower, Greg Miller. He's armed with heavy rifle and also a whip, and then he has heavy armor. Final member of the Space Cowboys is Santiago. He has a very high defense. He's armed with a heavy pistol and a melee weapon, and then he carries a dynamite stick. All the Space Cowboys are soldiers, so they can get their dynamite, medikits, and heavy armor for free. They face the Gangsters of Love and their leader, Geena. She has good all-round stats. She's armed with a heavy pistol and a whip, and she's equipped with a comms unit, and then she has psychic focus. Next to her, we have Sue. She is the close combat specialist on the team. She's armed with a large melee weapon, but no ranged attacks. Helga has high defense and firepower. She is armed with the very powerful auto cannon. Final member of the Gangsters of Love is Angie. She does not have the best stats, but she's armed with an auto pistol and a powered weapon, and then she's equipped with a stealth suit. All the Gangsters of Love are plucky rebels, so they can re-roll one dice roll of 1 per round. And all these models really don't fit together in theme, size, or time, but what the heck, this is Space Weirdos after all. And before we begin, each group will receive 2 command points. Let's begin round 1. The round will begin with an initiative roll. Red dice, the Gangsters of Love, and the Space Cowboys will roll the blue dice. It's a first activation for the Gangsters of Love. Helga will activate first. She will need 2 sticks of movement to move on top of this building. And she has a speed of 2, so she's not able to move further. She'll end her activation on the roof. Greg Miller will activate next, and he will also move twice on top of the building, and from this position he can see and target Sue with his auto rifle. He shoots with a D10, but because he has moved twice, he will go down to D8. Sue also rolls a D8 for defense. If Greg hits with his shot, he will have +1 on the under fire roll. But it looks like Sue will beat Greg. She will defend the shot, no damage. So right after that, Sue will run into cover. She will move 2 sticks behind this building, and she will end her activation. Santiago moves one stick to the building and another stick on top of the roof. With two movement, he cannot move further, and he cannot see any targets because Angie is equipped with a stealth suit, so when she touches terrain as she does here, she cannot be seen on distances above one stick. But she can move, and she will move one stick closer to Santiago, and from this position, she will fire at him on the roof. She fires with D8, but that will go down to D6 because her auto pistol is out of range, and Santiago normally rolls D10 for defense, but he will go up to D12 because he moved twice. It looks like an uneven battle, and exactly Santiago easily dodges the bullet. She'll fire again with the same result. Now it's the Marshal. He will move two sticks, and that will take him into line of sight of Angie. And she does not touch any terrain, so she is within line of sight. Angie rolls D6s, and the Marshal rolls D8s. He also uses a command point to buff his stats even further. He's now up to D10. And that's a solid hit. 15 versus 5. So that's 3 times the defense roll. That will give the Marshal +3 on the under fire roll. And that could be fatal for Angie. He rolls a 6. That's a total of 9. Angie is down and staggered. What a heavy hit from the Marshal. She'll have to spend her next activation to recover and stand up. And, of course, that is if she's alive. Geena now steps into action. She moves one stick, and from this position, she is within one stick of the Marshal, and she's armed with a whip, so she can attack him with the melee weapon. But the Marshal will respond. He will use a command point to fire Overwatch. He turns around and he will fire with D10s, but Geena will play a command point to buff her defense from D8 to D10 as well. D10 versus D10. Let's see. 11 from the Marshal versus 8 from Geena. The Marshal is once again on target, and he will have a +1 on the under fire table. And that's another roll of 9, so Geena is also down and staggered. She had a great plan that could take down the Marshal. Now she's biting the dust. Sally Durant needs to get closer to the action. She will use her speed and move 3 times. She'll be in cover in the corner of the building here. And that was the last activation of the first round. The two groups have taken to the streets of Joker Town, and the Space Cowboys sure did some great shooting. I guess that's what cowboys do. In the maintenance phase, the gangsters will use their second command point to regroup. They will roll D8s for initiative in round 2. The gangsters really need to move first, and they are successful. They will beat the cowboys in initiative, and they will activate first. Now it's time for Helga to get her autocannon into action. She will move one stick to the edge of the roof, and then she will pick her target. She will target the Marshal first, but he will use one command point to dodge away from her line of sight. She still has one shot though, so she will target Greg Miller instead. She will roll D10s versus Greg's D8. And Greg will beat her. They roll 11, both of them, but he has +1 because of his heavy armor. No hits. That was certainly not what the gangsters were hoping for. Now Greg Miller, cold-blooded as he is, will spend one action to aim, and then he will fire at Geena. She is down in the dirt, so she will go down to D6 in defense, and Greg will roll D12s. And of course, a cowboy like Greg can hit a non-moving target. He will beat the defense with twice as much, so he will add to the under fire table, +1 for the hit and plus another for his heavy rifle. That's a total of 7. That's another down result for Geena, but she is already down, so she'll receive another staggered, and when she has staggered twice, she is taken out. The gang leader, Geena, eliminated in the dusty streets of Jokertown. But Greg is not finished yet. He will fire his second shot, unaimed now, at Helga, but she has D12s for defense because she's in cover. That doesn't help her. Greg will once again hit his target and roll with a +1 to the under fire table. And he rolls 7 + 1, it's 8. He will shoot her right in her left shoulder, and Helga is staggered. Then, finally, Greg is done. Angie really needs to get back now. She will have to use 1 command point to buff her willpower, and she will make an unopposed willpower roll to recover. And she will be successful. She will beat with 10 to 8. She has recovered. Then she'll use her second action to stand up, and her third to fire at the marshal. At point blank range with her auto pistol, D8 versus D8. But even though she can nearly touch him with the gun barrel, she will fire her bullet past him. Surely the marshal must react now. He will turn around and slowly aim his rifle at Angie. He will fire with D10s, +1, because of his targeting reticule. But Angie will play the second command point, and she will dodge out of the way. She will easily jump over the obstacle and hide behind the building, out of line of sight of the marshal. He wasted his aimed shot, but he still has 1 action left, and he can fire again. This time he will target Helga on the roof of the building. He will fire with D8, and Helga will defend with D10s because she's staggered. But the marshal will hit again, and he will hit with twice as much. That's +2 on the under fire table. It could be all over for Helga now. And he rolls a 4 really low. That's a total of 6. Helga will be forced to jump away, dive for cover. 1 stick away, and now she is down and staggered. It's been a while since Sue did anything. Now she will move twice, jump on the first level of this building into base contact with Sally Durant, and then she will attack with her large melee weapon. D10s versus Sally's D6s. And Sue will beat her 12 to 5. That will give her +2 on the under attack table. And she will roll. Oh my god, it's a 12. Sally Durant is not hit. She is slaughtered by Sue with a powerful hit from her large weapon. Sue will turn around, and the marshal will look into her eyes in disbelief. Santiago still has time to do something. He will move to the edge of the roof and jump down. From this position, he can see and fire at Sue. He will use a command point to buff his stats, but he will roll D6s versus Sue's D10s. She has already moved twice, and she is harder to hit, and she easily defends the shot. That concludes the second round, 1 casualty on each side. And now at the end of the round, the Gangsters of Love must roll to see if they are broken, because their leader is down. So Sue will use her 2d8 willpower for an unopposed willpower roll to see if she can save the warband. She succeeds, 11 to 10 and will roll normal initiative in round 3. So here we go, initiative. This time, the Cowboys will activate first. They are clearly out for revenge and the target is Sue. Santiago will activate and move 1 stick. He's still in cover behind the crate. And then he will throw his dynamite 1 stick away and will land it right next to Sue. And she is the center of the blast. The dynamite blast will be 2d10s and Sue's defense 2d8. Ooh, and she will not be hit by the blast. Somehow, I can't imagine how, she will avoid the blast and she's unharmed. That took out all of Santiago's action, so he is finished now. And he is a sitting duck because Sue will jump down from the building, move yet another stick. She has a movement of 2, and that will take her into base contact with Santiago. But wait. Greg Miller will use a command point to fire Overwatch. He is a sharpshooter and he will try to prevent Sue's slaughter. But Sue also plays a command point to buff her defenses from D8 to D10. Let's see if Greg can land another hit, and he cannot. Sue will move too fast and she will avoid the shot. Now she is ready to strike Santiago. And since she moved 2 sticks away and ran towards Santiago, she is charging with a plus bonus, so she will roll d12s. And she will hit Santiago with her large weapon. She will only have a +1 on the under attack table. Let's see if it's enough. She rolls a 5. That will take her up to 6. It's a knockback. Santiago must move 1 stick away and he will be down. Unfortunately for Sue, Greg Miller now has a clear line of sight and he can aim first and he can fire afterwards. So he will fire with 2 d12s versus d10s, but he will not hit Sue. He will fire again, this time with d10s because he's not aiming anymore. And that was a low roll from Sue, and Greg will hit. He will beat her with double the amount. That will give him +2. And my God, that bullet was right between the eyes of Sue. She is definitely out. It's beginning to look real bad for the Gangsters of Love. Angie still might have a chance if she can hit the sheriff in the back. She moves 1 stick. The sheriff could use a command point to dodge, but that won't really take him out of line of sight. So it's D8 versus D8, but Angie will use the last command point. It's now or never. She will buff her stats up to D10. Let's see if she can hit. And no, they roll the same amount, so the attack misses. She can fire 1 final time. That will be with D8 this time. And again, it's like a curse. The sheriff, he doesn't take bullets. The sheriff turns around again, like an annoying bug. Angie is still there. He aims his heavy rifle. It's D10 versus D8 and with a +1. And unfortunately, he will roll double 1s. He will fire something else than Angie. He still has 1 shot though. That will be with D8s. And he will use a command point to take it back to D10 again. And this time, without a doubt, he will hit. And unfortunately for Angie, no rolls of 1. She would have been able to re-roll a roll of 1, but that was not the case here. She will be hit, and with a +1 on the under fire table, it's 11. Again, a bullet that will pierce the heart of this gangster. That leaves it all up to Helga. She is down and staggered, and she will roll an unopposed will roll to recover, and she rolls the same. That's enough. She will recover. Her second action, she will stand up, and with her third and final action, she will take a view over the dusty streets of Joker Town. And her conclusion is clear after watching the sheriff, Greg, and Santiago ready, and that is, she is out of here. She is alive. Maybe she'll recruit new gang members and come back for revenge. Who knows? So far, Greg, Santiago, and the sheriff will rule Joker Town, maybe as the three amigos. Zed's bar will open again and the people will come back. Thanks a lot for watching this Space Weirdos battle report. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope you'll join me for future Batreps.